Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Patriot Nation TV. I'm your host, Tim Davis, aka Professor X, your new age patriot with a 1776 attitude. Just one man, one opinion, trying to connect the dots, make sense of it all, this bizarre world. It is Wednesday, March 30th, 2022, and got a good little interesting show. Make it short, quick. Please, if you're new to the show, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate any support. And so let's get it started, right? I'm gonna say this: how close is humanity to understanding that their governments are organized criminals? How close are we? I see we're like this close. Humanity is this close to understanding that their governments are organized criminals. And I'm gonna explain it from one of my favorite authors, George Orwell, 1984. He's one of them. Like, I got the book here. I was just scrolling through it. I did it like a year ago too. But so it brings me to today's events. I'm not going to talk about the bread and circuses that are going on that you see right now. I'm not going to talk about that. It's been going on for a few days since Sunday. Doesn't interest me, doesn't affect my life, so I can care less. So I'm going to use two ways our world, our country, our world globally resembles 1984. I'm going to do it from 1984, George Orwell's perspective, right? So I'm going to take a quote from the main character, Winston Smith. He says this. Winston Smith says this. He tells us, freedom is freedom to say that 2 + 2 makes 4. If this is granted, all else follows. When I read that line 25, 30 years ago, I didn't understand what Orwell was saying. I didn't. Now I do, though. Now I do. Because I read it a few times. So the two ways our world resembles 1984 is, like I said, I read it like a year ago. I'm just skimming through it again. It was 25, 30 years ago. Most of what I remembered back then, as opposed in my 20s and now, what I remember most seemed to be fragments of quotes and cliches my brain had absorbed on the internet articles, people using my memes, pop culture, shirts. That's what it's used for, like entertainment, like it's fiction. But he gave a clear-cut blueprint of what was going to take place. Truth be told, I had always been more partial to Huxley's A Brave New World when I was younger. I'm talking about when I was younger. Due to because it seemed more, I'm a kid of the 80s, teenager of the 80s and stuff. So it seemed was more compatible to what was going on at that point. When I was a teenager, you're thinking America never returned in that state. Some of us had fathers, grandfathers, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, all different cops. They were cops, whatever. Not mine. My father wasn't a cop, but all different things. So we would never imagine that would have come and happened here to America. So Huxley appealed to me more at that age, I guess. But perhaps Huxley's dystopia had always seemed lighter and less malevolent, less gritty, less corrupt. I'm not sure which book I would prefer now. If I was to recommend anything, I would tell anybody to start from 1984. That's what I would start off with if you never read it. But I will say reading 1984 today, as opposed to 25, 30 years ago, was a very different experience. To a teenage mind, 1984 is basically an allegoric prophecy of the modern police state, Big Brother, Big Brother is watching. Telescreens everywhere. Children spy on their parents. Report them to the thought police. Right? You know, I don't mean to diminish these themes, because Orwell at one time was a socialist. He even visited the Fabian Socialist. If you don't know that, Fabian Socialist, look it up. See what's going on. It helps connect the dots. Who soured on its ideology once he got a good look at it, like I said, through the Fabian Socialist. Was prescient to observe how totalitarian surveillance states would operate. Now, bear in mind, 1984 was published 2 years before the Stasi was formed. Right? So Orwell's philosophy, you know, what impressed me reading 1984 today was Orwell's grasp of the philosophy behind Big Brother, or rather, its lack of philosophy, nihilism, truth. Truth we see does not exist in Oceania, the totalitarian nation state that serves set in 1984. You know, today, 2022, we saw globalization, the world order. You know, the absence of truth is shown at various times in various ways, but it's the most famously is depicted when Winston Smith, the book's protagonist, reflects that it's only a matter of time before a party would insist that 2 + 2 makes 5. 2 + 2 makes 5. Right? It was inevitable that they should make the claim sooner or later. The logic of their position demanded it, Smith would tell us. Not merely the validity of the experiences, but the very existence of external reality was tactically denied by the philosophy. The hearsayees, the gossipers was common sense. You know, this isn't his supposed fictional book, which is actually maybe a blueprint of what's going on. You know, it's not that just Big Brother was watching. It's not that just Big Brother was watching and a hostile to truth, logical, and facts thought it is. It's that truth, logic, and facts will at certain times inevitably conflict with one sole goal, the state's goal, control. This brings us to the second observation about Oceania. It's a land steeped in politics. Deep steeped in politics. It's force-fed to the people. They consume it, whether they wish to or not. It is pumped out on telescreens, day and night. It comes from indoctrinated children and neighbors. Some people reciting the party's cliches believe it. Others may not, but there is no escaping the party's dogmas. The party, the state. At no point in a novel, like I said, the party and the state, like, you see Nancy Pelosi and these people, they're just sickos. At no cost, they don't care about you and me, they don't care about the people. But anyway, at no point in a novel is there more thoroughly demonstrated than that Winston Smith reveals that even sex was polluted by politics. Here is how he described it in his initial act of love to Julia, the woman who he became his lover. He would say, in the old days, he thought a man looked at his girlfriend's body and saw that she was desirable. And that was the end of the story. But you could not have pure love or pure lust nowadays. No emotion was pure because everything was mixed up with fear and hatred. Their embrace had been a battle, the climax of victory. It was a blow against the party. The party didn't want you to be happy. They didn't want us to be happy. It was a political act. They break down everything. They don't want you to be happy. So they take away truth. Truth decay. We see in 1984 a world in which politics has consumed life's most intimate actions. I wouldn't compare the United States in 1984 100%, but I believe there are parallels that exist. You see it, I see it. It's very scary because America has it, but they're promoting it more on a global stage for some other reason. Politics, few today would deny, saturates most aspects of our lives. It's in our school systems, our colleges, football games, baseball games, basketball games, movie theater, Oscars, even in American churches, even in America's churches and synagogues and mosques. This was not always the case. And the development is not a healthy one. It's not healthy. And then there is a matter of truth. Last year, you could see it. The lies with the COVID jabs, masks, no jabs, boosters. Truth decay. We see it today. Truth decay is defined as a set of 4 related trends. Increasingly disagreement about facts and analytical interpretation of facts and data. A blurring of the line between opinion and fact. An increase in the relative volume and resulting influence of opinion and personal experience over fact. And declining trust in formally respected sources of factual information. In layman terms, opinion. It's your opinion. It's your opinion if you have facts, if you don't have facts, if you just, you get it. Truth decay might help explain why people, even intelligent people, intelligent, sensible, grounded ones, seems to feel like Alice from Wonderland, after she tumbled down the rabbit hole. Right? We're living in an era when sanity is controversial and insanity is just another viewpoint. If you have sanity, you're competent. You could do things like you're a conspiracy theorist, a radical left, a radical right, a fascist, a Muslim, terrorist. Like they just label everybody. It's pretty crazy how they do it. That's like Tom, the great economist Thomas Sowell recently stated. We are living in an era where sanity is controversial and insanity is just another viewpoint. You see it all the time. We see it. You can experience on social media. Few Americans today would deny, I think, but the truth is under assault. Right? We know the truth is under assault. So is free speech. It's one of the few ideas on which the left and right can agree. Liberals, conservative, leftist, rightists, alt-left, alt-right, all religions. We can all agree on that. The truth is being punished. Free speech is being censored. And that's not good. The disagreements arises who are the greater transgressors of truth, right? That's what it's about. It's a war for your mind. It's really not a trivial matter because truth and freedom are inseparable. Remember, the first act on the slippery slope to tyranny is truth. Right? It's a slippery slope. It's the first casualty to the tyranny to tyranny. If you wish to live in freedom, you must first commit yourself to truth in all things, even if it affects you, hurts your feelings. Freedom of speech. Our future need not to be as bleak as that of 1984, but we're close. We're close to 1984, very, very, very close. The first step to making sure it is not to reclaim the cherished principle of free speech, not strictly to the legal sense. Rather, we must remember that the free expression of ideas is essential to and inseparable from the search of truth. We don't have to agree on anything, but you want the truth, right? If we truly wish to understand why freedom is necessary in a civilized society, we must begin to realize that because freedom of discussion improves our own opinions. The liberties of other men are our own vital necessity. In our age of suffering, a truth crisis, perhaps it's because we do not esteem truth enough. We just accept it. Our society seems more interested in suppressing and hiding from ideas than wrestling with them, which is what an earnest pursuit of truth demands, right? Thomas Jefferson once wrote that truth has nothing to fear from conflict, but truth will not prevail in a world that prevents the conflict of ideas by suppressing speech. It's happening now. It's happening globally, domestically. Freedom is freedom. To say that 2 + 2 makes 4, Winston Smith tells us, if this is granted, all else follows. Like I said, when I read that line 25, 30 years ago, 25 I'll say, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what Orwell was saying. I thought I did, but I didn't. But I do now. I think everybody else should know it too. That's my little take on that. And I think, we all come across people, social media, debating or whatever, or just in the co-workers, on the bus, on the car, anywhere. You might just come across people where you discuss what's going on. People just brush you aside from either an argument of authority or just somebody that's clueless. They'll say, you know what you're talking about. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're this. You're that. Yada yada. And then you ask them, well, where do you get your sources from? Like, what are you basing your opinion or theory on? And they say, from the news. So I'm just giving that one little example of a person we come across. You call them Karens. You can call them whatever you want. How I respond to these people now is like, before I get into a conversation, before they bait me into stupidity, try to baffle me with BS, because they can't dazzle me with brilliance. I always say this to them. I always propose these questions. I say, have you read the Patriot Act, the NDAA Act, the Pfizer documents, CDC statistics, scientific studies, any court documents? No? You know what I'm talking about? He's like, what are you talking about? Never heard of it. I said, right. Never heard of it. So that's why we can't have these discussions, because you get yours from the news or Snoops, stuff like that. Or if it's another person who tries to argue from a argument of authority, it's preposterous, because you can't argue from that. So I guess I'm gonna just try to button this up, tune it out. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth, and compassion against injustices, and lying and greed. If people over the world would do this, it would change the world. Right? Change the world. And I think it's happening. I think people all over the world are waking up. It was happening before COVID. Hong Kong, France, but COVID shut everything down. Now it's sparkling back up. And I think we are this close for humanity to understanding that the governments are organized criminals. Well, I'm on long enough, guys, so I'm going to tune out. Say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to watch the show, my rant. And like I said, if you're all new to the show, please hit like and subscribe. Followers, thank you. So I'm going to tune out. Say God bless. God bless you. God bless America. Bye-bye.